Ethan Cale was a man who liked simple things. He liked quiet evenings, the hum of his small workshop, and the stars that stretched endlessly above the human colony of Valyra 7. He was an engineer by trade, a fixer of machines and circuits, a solver of problems that most people didn't even notice. Life was predictable, sometimes boring, but it was safe, and Ethan liked safe. That night, however, nothing about his life would remain predictable. The air was unusually still. The twin moons of Valyra 7 cast pale light over his small home, and Ethan was repairing a hover drone that had crashed in the nearby valley. Sparks flew as he soldered a delicate wire. He was so focused that he didn't notice the sky ripple. Not until a deep, resonant hum shook the ground did he finally look up. Above him, the stars seemed to bend. Space itself shimmered, and then a shadow fell across the valley. Ethan squinted and froze. A ship, massive and unlike any human design, descended slowly, its surface dark and glossy, like black glass. Lights flickered across its hull in colors he had never seen. It radiated authority, danger, and power all at once. The ground trembled as it landed. Trees shook. Ethan stumbled backward, his tools clattering to the floor. From the enormous hatch of the ship, a figure emerged. She was tall. Taller than any human, with a presence that made the air feel heavier. Armor covered her body, etched with strange symbols that glowed faintly. Her eyes glinted like polished onyx, sharp and intelligent. She carried herself like a predator who had never known fear. Ethan swallowed hard. The woman or alien was Queen Valyra, the most feared being in the galaxy. Stories of her conquests traveled faster than light. She had destroyed fleets, toppled entire governments, and left planets trembling under her rule. Her name alone could silence armies. And now, she was standing at his doorstep. "Ethan Cale," she said, her voice smooth and commanding. "I need your help." Ethan's mind blanked. "Me?" he stammered. "Why? Why me?" Valyra's eyes narrowed, and she stepped closer. The air between them seemed to thrum with energy. "Because you are the only one who can do what is needed." Ethan took a step back. His workshop was small, cluttered with machines and tools. In that moment, it felt absurdly tiny, like a sandbox in front of a mountain. I don't understand," he said. "I'm just an engineer. I fix things. I'm not a soldier. I'm not anyone important." Valyra tilted her head, studying him. "That is precisely why you are important. You think like a human. You think differently. That difference is what the galaxy needs." Ethan's stomach churned. He had grown up hearing stories about alien powers and ancient empires, but they were just stories. Legends. Now, the most terrifying being in the galaxy was asking him for help. Not to enslave him, not to experiment on him, but to trust him? He wanted to say no. He wanted to slam the door, run into the woods, pretend none of this was happening. But something in her voice, the quiet certainty beneath her fearsome presence, made him pause. "You have two choices, Ethan Cale," she said. "You help me, or countless lives will be lost. Not just human lives. Not just my empire. Entire systems will fall. I have come to you because time is short, and failure is not an option." Ethan felt the weight of her words like gravity pressing down on him. He had never been brave. He had never been important. But now it seemed like the universe had thrown him into a storm he couldn't escape. "Fine," he said finally, his voice shaking. I'll help, but I don't even know what I can do." Valyra's lips curved into something faintly resembling a smile. She extended her hand, not as a queen to a subject, but as a partner, inviting him into the unknown. Ethan hesitated. Then, taking a deep breath, He placed his hand in hers. The next moments were a blur. Her ship's doors closed behind them with a hiss. The interior was vast, sleek, and alien. Lights pulsed along the walls, and the hum of the ship was almost like a heartbeat. Ethan felt small, like an insect in a palace of gods. Valyra led him to a control room filled with holographic displays. Star systems floated in midair, fleets of ships moving in precise formations, and countless alien symbols scrolled across screens faster than he could read. "Everything you see," Valyra said, gesturing to the displays, "is at risk. A faction within my empire has betrayed me. They seek to seize control, to topple me, and they will not hesitate to destroy any world that opposes them. My spies have failed. My generals are compromised. You, Ethan, are the only one who can find a solution." Ethan looked at the screens, dizzy and overwhelmed. "Why me? I'm human. I don't even know how to fight." Quote, "You fight in ways they cannot predict," she said simply. "Humans are clever, resilient. You adapt. You innovate. That is your strength. That is why I need you." For a moment, Ethan's fear battled with pride. He had never been recognized for anything, and yet here was the most powerful being in the galaxy, telling him he was the key to saving countless lives. Before he could say anything, Valyra paused. She studied him more closely than she had before, her expression unreadable. "There is something else you should know," she said, her voice dropping to a softer, almost human tone. "I know. About you. Your past. Your fears. Your hidden strengths." Ethan froze. "What? What do you mean?" Valyra's eyes softened slightly, a crack in the armor of her terrifying presence. "I know who you are, Ethan Cale, and I know what you are capable of, even if you do not." Ethan's heart raced. He had no idea how she could know such things. How could the galaxy's most feared queen know the details of his life, the secrets he had buried even from himself? "Your fear," she continued, "is your strength. Your doubt is what makes you human. And that humanity will save more lives than any weapon in my armory." Ethan swallowed hard. He didn't feel like a hero. He felt small. But something in her voice, something in the way she believed in him, lit a spark. I'll try," he said, barely above a whisper. Valyra's expression hardened again, her queenly authority returning. "Good. There is no time to waste. The galaxy will not wait for you to find courage. You must act now." As the ship lifted off, Ethan pressed himself against the wall, staring at the stars beyond. His life, as he knew it, was gone. The galaxy, vast and dangerous, had opened its arms to him, and the most feared queen in existence had chosen him. And somewhere deep inside, Ethan felt something he had never felt before, a flicker of hope. Hope and fear. Because he knew, in his bones, that the adventure ahead would change him forever. The ship hummed quietly as it cut through the void of space, faster than anything Ethan had ever seen. Stars stretched into lines, planets blurred, and yet inside the control room, Ethan's world felt smaller than ever. Queen Valyra sat across from him, her posture perfect, her eyes sharp as she studied holographic displays. Despite her fearsome reputation, Ethan couldn't shake the feeling that she carried a weight, a quiet burden hidden beneath her armor. "You must understand," Valyra said, breaking the silence. "What you see in me is only a fraction of the truth. The galaxy fears me because I allow them to. Fear keeps them obedient. But behind the mask, there are weaknesses no one knows." Ethan blinked. "Weaknesses? You? You've destroyed fleets, planets, governments. You're unstoppable." She let out a soft, humorless laugh. "Unstoppable, yes, but not invincible. Not to betrayal, not to deception, and certainly not to the fragility that comes with trust and loss." Ethan felt a shiver run down his spine. He had always imagined alien rulers as cold, emotionless beings. But here was Valyra, showing a glimpse of something human, something vulnerable. "Why are you telling me this?" he asked cautiously. "Because you need to know who I am. And because you will soon know more than you wish to," she said, her gaze piercing. "The faction that seeks to betray me, they are ruthless, and they will exploit anything they can, including my secret." Ethan frowned. "Your secret?" Valyra's eyes softened, and she leaned forward, lowering her voice. "I am not fully alien. I have human ancestry. My mother was human. My father, an alien warlord. I concealed it for decades to maintain the image of power and perfection. If my enemies discover this, if anyone discovers this, they would see me as weak, less than a queen. And in this galaxy, weakness is deadly." Ethan's mind froze. He had grown up on stories of alien rulers, terrifying beings beyond human comprehension. And now, the most feared one in the galaxy shared his blood. "You're human," he stammered. Valyra's eyes glimmered. "Partly, yes, and that is why I came to you. Humans are different from aliens. You think differently. You adapt. You improvise. You survive. I need your mind, Ethan, because mine is constrained by expectations and tradition. You are unbound." Ethan felt a strange mix of fear and awe. He had always thought humans were small players in the grand galaxy. Yet here was proof that even a being feared by all depended on human ingenuity. "Why me?" he asked, almost to himself. "There must be millions of humans in the galaxy. Why me? Why me?" Valyra's gaze softened again. "Because you are capable. You are clever. And you have something no alien can possess. A human spark. That spark can turn the tide of this war." The words sank deep into Ethan's mind. For the first time in his life, someone powerful believed in him. And yet, fear knotted his stomach. He wasn't a soldier. He wasn't a fighter. He was an engineer. How could his human spark possibly matter in a war against ruthless alien generals? Valyra seemed to sense his doubt. "I will not lie to you," she said, her voice steady. "The road ahead is dangerous. You will face challenges that may break you. You may fail. But if you do, billions of lives will be lost." Ethan swallowed. He had always thought courage was something he lacked. Now, it seemed the universe demanded it of him. And somehow, he had to find it. Over the next hours, Valyra guided him through the operations of her fleet. Ethan was introduced to alien technology far beyond human imagination. Ships that could cloak entirely. Weapons that manipulated gravity. Fleets capable of instantaneous interstellar jumps. Yet, for all the marvels, Ethan noticed a pattern. Most of the alien systems were rigid, predictable, based on protocols and routines. They lacked the improvisation, the unpredictability, the adaptability that humans took for granted. He mentioned this cautiously. "Your fleet." Valyra raised an eyebrow. "Go on." Ethan pointed to the holographic map of a star system. "If your enemies know the timing of ship jumps, the patrol routines, the supply lines, a few clever maneuvers could bypass the defenses entirely. The ships could be tricked, drawn into traps, even without fighting them head-on." Valyra leaned back, considering his words. "Interesting. You see what they cannot. You think in ways unconstrained by tradition. That is valuable." For the first time, Ethan felt a spark of pride. Maybe he wasn't just a small engineer after all. Maybe humans did have a place among the stars, not as pawns, but as contributors, thinkers, innovators, survivors. Over the next few days, Valyra pushed him harder. She put him through simulations, combat exercises, and alien strategy lessons. At first, Ethan stumbled. He misread alien tactics, failed to anticipate movements, and felt hopelessly outmatched. But Valyra never punished him. Instead, she guided, corrected, and observed. And slowly, he began to improve. His solutions were unconventional, often shocking the alien officers in the simulations. He suggested formations that defied standard tactics, maneuvers that relied on human intuition rather than protocol. And with each success, Valyra's trust in him deepened. Late one night, after a long day of exercises, Ethan found himself alone in the observation deck. Stars stretched endlessly across the black sky, and he felt both small and strangely connected to the universe. He had spent his life fixing machines, dreaming of adventure, never realizing the galaxy itself could be part of that adventure. Valyra appeared silently, standing beside him. He hadn't heard her approach, and for a moment, he felt the same fear he had felt on the day she first arrived. "You're thinking too small," she said softly, almost to herself. Ethan glanced at her. I don't know if I can do this. I've never fought in a war. I've been important. Her gaze softened. "You are important. You just do not know it yet. Your humanity, it is your power. Aliens rely on fear, protocol, and force. You rely on choice, on creativity, on spirit. That is why you can succeed where others will fail." Ethan's chest tightened. He wanted to believe her. He wanted to be more than a small man on a quiet colony. But fear lingered. Could he really live up to this impossible expectation? Could he survive the dangers ahead? Before he could answer, Valyra placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. The touch was brief, almost human, yet it carried a weight that sent a shiver through him. "The rogue faction knows of me," she said quietly. "And soon, they may discover more. Secrets that must remain buried. Raiding Estiv. We." Ethan's curiosity broke through his fear. "What kind of secrets?" Valyra hesitated, then whispered, "Secrets about my bloodline. Secrets that could topple my rule. Secrets that I feared even telling myself." Ethan felt a strange mixture of awe and dread. This queen, the galaxy's most feared ruler, trusted him with the most delicate part of herself. He didn't know how to respond, so he stayed silent, listening. She continued, her voice almost a whisper. "I am human, in part. And that is why you, a full human, are my key. You can act where aliens cannot. You can think where alien minds are constrained. You are my hope." Hope. The word resonated in Ethan's mind. He had never imagined he could carry hope for anyone, let alone for an empire, for a galaxy. The weight was terrifying. Yet, somewhere deep inside, he felt a spark that perhaps, just perhaps, humans were not as small in the universe as they believed. The days passed in a blur of training and strategy sessions. Ethan learned to navigate alien systems, predict enemy movements, and even suggest tactical maneuvers that impressed officers twice his age and experience. Yet, through it all, he could not ignore the tension growing between Valyra's need for secrecy and the lurking threat of betrayal. One evening, after a particularly grueling simulation, Valyra spoke again. "Ethan, there is one final truth you must understand. The rogue faction will not hesitate. They will exploit my secret. They will try to use my human ancestry against me." Ethan nodded slowly. "Then we stop them. Together." Valyra studied him, her eyes softer than he had ever seen. "Together," she echoed. And for the first time, Ethan felt that perhaps the most terrifying being in the galaxy was not invincible, and that maybe, With human ingenuity, she could be saved. As they stood side by side, looking at the stars stretching into infinity, Ethan realized something profound. He was no longer just an engineer. He was a part of something far greater, something that required courage, intellect, and heart. Something that proved that humans, small as they might seem, could leave a mark across the stars. And deep down, he knew the galaxy would never be the same again.